Audio Jungle.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Domenic Maiani. Dominic is the president at Lazio Search Group, a staffing and recruiting company empowering supply chain, logistics, and distribution with top talent. Dominic has almost 15 years of experience in the world of staffing and recruiting. He is a former D1 and pro hockey player. Dominic, thank you so much for joining me today at Start the Ladder.
Thanks for having me, Alex. Excited to join you here on the podcast.
Very good. Dominic, I like to start every interview the same way. Can you explain what it is you do as if you're speaking to a 6-year-old?
I help companies find the right people, talent for important jobs. Like think about matching puzzle pieces that fit perfectly. That's what I do for companies.
Great. Dominic, I touched on it there briefly that you work mostly in the supply chain logistics and distribution industry. Can you tell me a little bit more about kind of the industries you are filling with talent?
Yeah, it's us. Anyone in supply chain, logistics, transportation, supply chain tech. We work with anywhere from startups to Fortune 500 companies. And for me personally, I fell into this space 15 years ago in recruiting, but I fell in love with the supply chain logistics space because most people think, you hit the buy button online, but if you've seen really what happens behind the scenes to get that package or whatever it may be to your door, it's pretty incredible.
Without a doubt. You talked about the complexities, going off of that, the complexities of this industry. What are you seeing as the needs for these supply chain and logistics companies as you're staffing them, right? Outside of specific roles, what are the needs they're really needing filled for success?
It's just about putting the right people in the right seats. Now in this today's world with AI, right? Where does AI fit into the company? Where can we leverage that? Where does the human in the loop come in? Where do we need a human interaction? A lot of companies still need the sales piece, right? That is always going to be a need, the human touch. But if you don't, even with that, right? If you have the great sales team, but you don't have the correct operations team in place, it doesn't run smooth. You can ask anyone that runs a top tier logistics company. Every piece of the puzzle has to fit in great to run a successful company.
No, it makes perfect sense. I want to touch on the prospects. You said there that, you're out there looking for that top talent. From your perspective, as well as the perspective of these companies, what are what are the skills, I think, again, outside of role specific, but what are the skills you're really looking for in these people that you're plugging into companies?
We are looking for candidates that have just that natural curiosity, coachable, intelligent, driven, just grit, positive attitude. That's key. A lot of people in a down market like this just come in negative, right? Nobody wants negativity around them. Successful teams are it's just always positive. No matter what the market's doing, they're figuring out a way to win. And that's the group you want to be surrounded with.
I think, as I look at a lot of the interviews I've done over the kind of the space of this, I think one thing that is an underlying kind of mode is always kind of that smile does so much more in an interview than anything else. You can't say anything that kind of tops just a good attitude. And it's crazy to see how, it doesn't matter how complex an industry gets with AI technology. Me and you touched on it earlier. It comes back to those basics of being, a good person, being
Yeah.
showing up with the right attitude. And it's crazy how I think a lot of times that's overlooked or forgotten about. Um, Outside of kind of, I'm sure in recruiting, you're watching someone's career over a course of a period, right? You might end up helping them get a job, and then 5 years later, they come back to you with a career pivot. Outside of success in finding the one job, who are the people that you see succeed over the course of a career? What are the attitudes they have? What are the skills they have?
Just constant learners, always learning day in, day out. How can I get better? They leave their ego at the door, right? It's like, even if you are the top CEO at that company, there's always something more you can learn because believe me, somebody's trying to come up right behind you. Business is a competitive game and you got to think about it like a war, right? It is like you have to win. How do you do that? You got to constantly learn day in, day out to get better, to optimize your company, your team, your product, your service, whatever it may be. It's those people that I see constantly winning, right? Just out there learning, just leaving the ego at the door. Like, oh yeah, now I got the CEO role, I can sit back. No, no. Now you got to step on the gas even more to be the top CEO, right? Those are the top people. Even coming from, like you start out your career, let's say business development rep, then you work your way to an account executive, then to an enterprise account executive, then to director of sales or VP of sales, right? And then to CRO, whatever it may be, whatever path you choose. But there are a lot of different paths that you can learn along the way, and just in the information era that we're in, everything's available. So if you want to go and learn, like I didn't know a lot about AI 2 years ago, but that went down 2 years of rabbit holes in AI. Now we're setting up companies in their go-to-market, rev ops strategy, um, just bringing in different APIs to scrape data, so for me, bringing extra value on top of recruiting. So what I always look for is how do I create extra value so I stay in these circles, right, with these winners. That's what I always look to do. And I think if you can do it throughout your career, you continually bring value to a company or a team that you're on, you'll always be wanted. You know, just have to have that day in, day out positive attitude.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, like we said, it is one of those basic things, but that doesn't
Yeah,
diminish the importance of it. You touched on
correct.
there the kind of the how difficult this current job market is. As you analyze specifically kind of that job market for recent graduates, what are you really seeing in this industry as kind of that job market?
It's tough for college graduates plus people that were making, let's say, 200,000 and above right now. Because a lot of companies, with the market the way it is, tariffs, especially in supply chain logistics, but you got the tariffs, you got, interest rates, money's not flowing like it was. So it's tough. You have people, as soon as the job gets posted, you have 100 people apply to that job within 30 seconds, all with AI tailored resumes. So you have to get out there and network, stand out, send a video, do something different. Like I always tell even my executive candidates that are making 250,000 a year that can't find a job, never even had to look for a job their entire career. Always been, you know, somebody found them or recruited them or somebody they knew brought them over there, right? In this market is totally different. You are now competing against people that have the same experience, if not better. So how do you stand out in this tough market? But I would tell, like I'm on the board of the Council of Supply Chain Management. I speak to students at the universities all the time, and I tell them get involved early, similar to what you're doing, right? Get involved, go out there, network, get involved with these groups. See like you were told you want to go down this career path, but maybe if you jump into a logistics company, do you really want to go down the freight brokerage path? Do you want to go down, be a procurement buyer? What do you want to do exactly? You may not know that yet, right? You're still young, coming out of school. A lot of people don't know that. And then they find out, like, oh, I don't like this career. I want to switch now. And then you end up job hopping. And then recruiters look at that right away. It's like, oh, this person can't stick it out. They haven't found what they're looking for yet. So I think if you can find what you're passionate about and what you like doing, there's nothing better than that. For
Yeah.
me, it's like I don't even show up to work every day. To me, this is fun. I get to meet new people, see under the hood of different companies, put strategies together to bring in top talent for them to grow. It's incredible the stuff that I get to. This is I get a master's class every day, just the people I get to meet.
Yeah. No, I mean, you get to see so much from your, from
Right.
your perspective. You get to see so much of different people, different companies, even different industries. I want to keep you on that point a little bit more about college students. What skills should they really be working on prior to that graduation date, as you said, to kind of set themselves apart as they enter the job market?
I'd say the most important thing is get out there, networking, communication skills. That's going to be your most important piece because at the end of the day, what you learn in school, that's great, but most of it you're going to find when you get into the real world, you're going to have to learn that on the job anyways. So it really doesn't matter. Yeah, you might go back and be like, oh yeah, I remember that from my master's business school, course, whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, if you don't master that networking, communication, getting out there and leveraging that, your network, you're going to have a tough time in this job market. And we're just in the beginning of the AI phase, right? So a lot of people are going to be like, where do I go now? Or you could think of it like this as, hey, now there's an opportunity. If I find a problem in the market, how can I solve that? Being able to create SaaS tools, apps, everything's possible now. So think outside the box too. Just don't automatically think, hey, I have to go to the big corporate company. There's a lot of other routes that you can go to be successful in this world.
You touched on there the importance of networking, and obviously, I think every college student hears that. I want to keep you
Yeah.
on that a little bit more and ask how would you how would you navigate growing and utilizing your network at a college age?
Like for example, in the Council of Supply Chain Management, right? There's whatever industry you're in, I'm sure there's an association, whatever business group. Get to those events. Get out there, meet people face to face, ask questions, right? Like people are very helpful. Like when I first got into the industry, you ask somebody a question, they'll tell you about, hey, here's what I do exactly on the supply chain procurement side. Here's what I do as a CEO at this company. And then you can see like, hey, is that the path I want to go down? Do I see a future in that industry, or is this a good career path for me to, you know, put all my time and effort in? But I think getting out there and talking to people is going to be your key, especially right now. And you'll see like a lot of your universities will have, a good business network resources, but there's nothing better than, tapping into your network, going out to events face to face like that, get out there face to face. If you can't do that, you're gonna have a tough time finding a job in these markets.
Yeah, I think again, coming back to those basics of that face-to-face interaction, right? Something that's completely overlooked. I think it doesn't
Yeah,
matter how much we grow today with LinkedIn or anything changes in terms of social media. The face-to-face is not the importance of a handshake is never going to be lost.
right.
Again, I'd like to bring you back to a point you made earlier about kind of that job hopping and how recruiters view that. If you were looking at it from a college student's perspective and you're kind of mapping out the beginning stages of your career, how would you be, you hear a lot about you have to stay in your first job for 3 to 5 years. How would you navigate or, strategically plan those career transitions prior to?
Well, that's a great question because what I would do if I went back to college now, right? Like, what would I do? Well, I'd get out there and start figuring out, hey, what career path do I think I want to go down? Talk to as many people as possible, and then think of any option B, C, D, E, and F, and go talk to those people in those industries. So find out exactly like, hey, maybe I don't want to go down this path. Maybe I want to go down that one, or maybe I want to do supply chain and finance. So how do I go down that CFO route, right, to get to a CFO? Maybe I want to be, in the operations day to day, right? How do I go down that path? Um, Again, it goes back to what you said: is get out there and network, talk to as many people as possible. Believe me, there are a lot of people that will go out of their way to help you and give you information about what they do. I ask people all the time, executives, teach me more about this. I would love to learn more. Believe me, they're busy people, but if they give you a half hour of their time, you better sit there and listen and take notes, right? Instead of talking, right? Just listen to what they're saying, and then make mental notes in your head. Like, hey, I'll write this down, or you know, keep a notebook, just things that you want to look out for yourself, and where you want to head in your career. But going back to it, Alex, network, network, network. Be positive, communicate. But trust me, the right people will find you, especially if you're out there networking.
Yeah. I think a learning lesson for me with this was the willingness of people to help others.
Yeah,
90% of the people either I've reached out to or that have reached out to me through somebody else have just been willing to give whatever to help, right?
yeah.
The amount, I think I was more nervous of, oh, I'm going to have to work through a bunch of no's. I've barely had to work through the no's because most people are so willing to help. And I think it does show it comes back to that old rule of what you put in is what you get out, right? The more you reach out to others, the more you put yourself in the right environments, the more you're going to get back from others, right? Especially when it comes to help. So I think I've been
100%.
amazed. I've been amazed by how much that works. Um,
Yeah.
you brought up there shortly you might not different career paths you could go down specifically in one industry. I think an important factor as someone begins their career, leaves college, is that first boss, that first company, right? Does it motivate them? Does it keep them inspired? As a college student is kind of choosing that first job, what are the factors they should be considering in a first boss, in a first company that help them make that decision?
Oh, that is so important to find. I was just talking to a college student yesterday. I said, how look at this leader's track record that you're going to be learning from. What is their track record, right? What do other, talk to other people at the company, reach out on LinkedIn. What is their experience with this leader? Because some people like me, like I'm a hands-on learner. I need to get in there. Like if I'm watching videos, yeah, I still learn that way, right? But if I just get in there and do it, that's how I learn better, right? So you got to figure out who's a good leader for you, who's had a good track record, a good history, but also is a good coach, right? How can they coach you up to give you the honest feedback? In today's world, everyone's worried about, well, I can't say this because I'll get sued, right? Like if you build a good relationship, hey, Dom, tell me honestly, how am I doing in this area, right? Or what do my numbers look like in business development? Am I strong or am I weak? What do I need to do to get better today, right? How can I get better for tomorrow? Just constant learning, going back to that natural curiosity, coachable, intelligent. Look for those traits inside of a leader, while you're interviewing too, because that could make or break some of your careers, right? Like you could jump into the supply chain logistics, transportation industry, get in with a bad leader and say, you know what, I hate this industry. But if you would have went down a different path with another leader, you could have made a great career. I mean, I know people that make, 500,000, $1 million a year, no problem every year, right? Plus, it just depends on the level they're at. But if they went, I ask them that question all the time too. I go, well, like, how did you get to where you're at? And it always comes back to the answer is like, hey, I had a great leader or coach at this company when I first started and put me on this path, right? Find companies like that. And like I said, it doesn't have to always be a big name company. Sometimes that hurts you when recruiters are looking for you, like, hey, let's say you're coming from Google, for example. Like, well, that's easy. If you call and say, hey, I'm Alex with Google, yeah, somebody's going to take your call. But if you call and say, hey, I'm Alex with ABC company, you got to grind your way to get in that door, right? So you got to learn how to break down doors, how to effectively communicate, how to bring value to that call immediately, right? Because people, especially in our space, supply chain logistics, you better have something to say quick because they got 2, 3 seconds, they're hanging up on you. So it's very important. But if you reach out and you ask for, hey, I see you are very active on LinkedIn. I'm thinking about getting in this industry. Do you mind spending 15, 20 minutes with me? People are willing to help. Yeah, you're gonna get some no's. People are busy, but like you said, Alex, like look how many people have said yes to you. People are willing to go help. It's just I I host a recruiting roundtable with 15, 25 recruiters every Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, are we competing against each other? Yes. But if I'm helping them, sometimes I'm hearing, new tools that I would have never heard about. They share with me. So, you know, even I think this is more important too. A lot of people forget this. When they get into their roles, they stop networking outside of their company or their clients. Continue building your network, your personal brand, especially in these markets that we're about to be entering. I think that is one of the most important things I could share today. That hopefully most people will listen to that because I can't tell you how important that's going to be. It already is, but it's going to be even more important. The markets that we're going into with social proof, this AI world with AI videos that can create somebody that looks like you and speaks like you know. So people want the genuine, authentic people that are just true to themselves. Like, don't, yeah, and that's another thing in interviews too. Don't be fake. Just be you. That's what people are looking for. And if that's not the right fit for you, then find a different company.
Dominic, some great advice. Thank you so much for your time. As we close this interview, I want to ask you one final thing. If you could go back and give your 20-year-old selves one piece of advice, what would that one piece of advice be?
Start sooner, take bigger risks, and don't wait for permission. Just do it. If you say you're going to do something, dive into it and find, get your no early. Get your no early. You want to jump into space, find out real quick. If talk to somebody that's high level, get your no early, take risks, because you can, right? But now I got 3 kids, and wife, right? Like you can't take as many risks as I would have been able to when I was younger coming out of college. So I would say take those big risks, shoot for the moon, set goals for yourself, stick to it, stay disciplined. Get into a routine. And then also too in this job market, it is a full-time job to find a job. So I know a lot of people have great networks and that helps. But even those with great networks in this current market, people I talk to daily, like I was telling you, 200, 250K people, they're having a tough time. So don't wait for permission. Take big risks. Start sooner. Start now. Start today. Don't say I'm going to do it tomorrow. Stay disciplined. Period.
Dominic, thank you so much.
No, thank you, Alex. Appreciate you.
Thanks, everybody.